The Oresteia by Aeschylus. Translated by E.D.A. Morshead.
Section 1.
Agamemnon.
Part 1.
The scene is the palace of Atreus at Mycenae. In front of the palace stand statues of the gods, and altars prepared for sacrifices.
I pray the gods to quit me of my toils, to close the watch I keep this livelong year. For, as a watchdog lying not at rest, propped on one arm, upon the palace roof of Atreus' race, too long, too well I know the starry conclave of the midnight sky, too well the splendors of the firmament, the lords of light, whose kingly aspect shows what time they set or climb the sky in turn, the year's divisions, bringing frost or fire. And now, as ever, am I set to mark when shall stream up the glow of signal flame, the balefire bright, and tell its Trojan tale. Troy town is ta'en. Such issue holds in hope she in whose woman's breast beats heart of man. Thus upon mine unrestful couch I lie, bathed with the dews of night, unvisited by dreams, ah me! For in the place of sleep stands fear as my familiar, and repels the soft repose that would mine eyelids seal. And if at whiles, for the lost balm of sleep, I medicine my soul with melody of trill or song, anon to tears I turn, wailing the woe that broods upon this home, not now by honour guided, as of old. But now at last fair fall the welcome hour that sets me free, whene'er the thick night glow with beacon fire of hope deferred no more. All hail!
A beacon light is seen reddening the distant sky.
Fire of the night, that brings my spirit day, shedding on Argos light and dance and song. Greetings to fortune, hail! Let my loud summons ring within the ears of Agamemnon's queen, that she anon start from her couch, and with a shrill voice cry a joyous welcome to the beacon blaze for Ilion's fall. Such fiery message gleams from yon high flame, and I, before the rest, will foot the lightsome measure of our joy. For I can say, my master's dice fell fair. Behold the triple size, the lucky flame. Now be my lot to clasp in loyal love the hand of him restored who rules our home. Home, but I say no more. Upon my tongue treads hard the ox of the adage. Had it voice, the home itself might soothliest tell its tale. I, of set will, speak words the wise may learn. To others, not remember, nor discern.
The watchman exits. The chorus of old men of Mycenae enter, each leaning on a staff. During their song, Clytemnestra appears in the background, kindling the altars.
10 livelong years have rolled away since the twin lords of sceptred sway, by Zeus endowed with pride of place, the doughty chiefs of Atreus' race, went forth of yore to plead with Priam face to face before the judgment seat of war. 1,000 ships from Argive land put forth to bear the martial band, that with a spirit stern and strong went out to right the kingdom's wrong. Pealed as they went the battle song, wild as the vulture's cry, when o'er the eyrie, soaring high, in wild bereaved agony, around in airy rings they wheel with oarage of their wings. That not the Aias brood behold, that called them to the nest of old, that let Apollo from the sky, or Pan, or Zeus, but hear the cry, the exile cry, the wail forlorn, of birds from whom their home is torn, of those who wrought the rapine fell, heaven sends the vengeful fiends of hell. Even so doth Zeus, the jealous lord and guardian of the hearth and board, speed Atreus' sons in vengeful ire against Paris, sends them forth on fire, her to buy back in war and blood, whom one did wed, but many wooed. And many, many, by his will, the last embrace of foes shall feel, and many a knee in dust bebowed, and splintered spears on shields ring loud, of Trojan and of Greek, before that iron bridal feast be o'er. But as he will, 'tis ordered all, and woes by heaven ordained must fall. Unsoothed by tears or spilth of wine, poured forth too late, the wrath divine glares vengeance on the flameless shrine. And we in grey dishonoured eld, feeble of frame, unfit were held to join the warrior array, that then went forth unto the fray. And here at home we tarry, fain our feeble footsteps to sustain, each on his staff, so strength doth wane, and turns to childishness again. For while the sap of youth is green, and yet unripened leaps within, the young are weakly as the old, and each unlike unmeet to hold the vantage post of war. And when flower and fruit are o'er, and on life's tree the leaves are sere, age wendeth propped its journey drear, as forceless as a child, as light and fleeting as a dream of night, lost in the garish day. But thou, O child of Tyndareus, Queen Clytemnestra, speak and say, what messenger of joy today hath won thine ear, what welcome news? And thus in sacrificial wise, e'en to the city's boundaries, thou biddest altar fires arise. Each god who doth our city guard, and keeps o'er Argus watch and ward, from heaven above, from earth below, the mighty lords who rule the skies, the market's lesser deities, to each and all the altars glow, piled for the sacrifice. And here and there, anear, afar, streams skyward many a beacon star, conjured and charmed and kindled well by pure oil's soft and guileless spell. Hid now no more within the palace's secret store, O Queen, we pray thee, whatsoe'er known unto thee were well revealed, that thou wilt trust it to our ear, and bid our anxious heart be healed, that waneth now unto despair, now waxing to a presage fair, dawns from the altar hope to scare from our rent hearts the vulture care. List, for the power is mine to chant on high the chiefs emprise, the strength that omens gave. List, on my soul breathe yet a harmony from realms of ageless powers and strong to save. How brother kings, twin lords of one command, led forth the youth of Hellas in their flower, urged on their way, with vengeful spear and brand, by warrior birds that watched the parting hour. Go forth to Troy, the eagles seemed to cry, and the sea kings obeyed the sky king's word, when on the right they soared across the sky, and one was black, one bore a white-tailed bard. High o'er the palace where they seemed to soar, then lit in sight of all, and rent and tear, far from the fields that she should range no more, big with her unborn brood, a mother heir. And one beheld the soldier prophet true, and the two chiefs unlike of soul and will, in the twy-coloured eagles straight he knew, and spake the omen forth for good and ill. Ah, woe and well a day, but be the issue fair. Go forth, he cried, and Priam's town shall fall, yet long the time shall be, and flock and herd, the people's wealth that roam before the wall, shall force hew down when fate shall give the word. But oh, beware lest wrath in heaven abide, to dim the glowing battle forge once more, and mar the mighty curb of Trojan pride, the steel of vengeance welded as for war. For virgin Artemis bears jealous hate against the royal house, the eagle pair, who rend the unborn brood insatiate, yea, loathes their banquet on the quivering hair. Ah, woe and well-a-day, but be the issue fair! For well she loves, the goddess kind and mild, the tender new-born cubs of lions bold, too weak to range, and well the sucking child of every beast that roams by wood and wold. So to the Lord of heaven she prayeth still. Nay, if it must be the omen true, yet do the visioned eagles presage ill. The end be well, but crossed with evil too. Healer Apollo, be her wrath controlled, nor weave the long delay of thwarting gales, to war against the Danaans, and withhold from the free ocean waves their eager sails. She craves, alas, to see a second life shed forth, a cursed, unhallowed sacrifice, twixt wedded souls, artificer of strife, and hate that knows not fear and fell device. At home there tarries like a lurking snake, biding its time, a wrath unreconciled, a wily watcher, passionate to slake in blood resentment for a murdered child. Such was the mighty warning pealed of yore, amid good tidings, such the word of fear, what time the fateful eagles hovered o'er the kings, and Calchas read the omen clear. In strains like his, once more, sing woe and well-a-day, but be the issue fair. Zeus, if to the unknown that name of many names seem good, Zeus, upon thee I call, through the mind's every road I passed, but vain are all, save that which names thee Zeus, the highest one. Were it but mine to cast away the load, the weary load that weighs my spirit down. He that was lord of old, in full-blown pride of place and valour bold, hath fallen, and is gone, even as an old tale told, and he that next held sway, by stronger grasp o'erthrown, hath passed away. And whoso now shall bid the triumph chant arise, to Zeus, and Zeus alone, he shall be found the truly wise. 'Tis Zeus alone who shows the perfect way of knowledge. He hath ruled, men shall learn wisdom, by affliction schooled. In visions of the night, like dropping rain, descend the many memories of pain. Before the spirit's sight, through tears and dole, comes wisdom o'er the unwilling soul. A boon, I wot, of all divinity, that holds its sacred throne in strength above the sky. And then the elder chief, at whose command the fleet of Greece was manned, cast on the seer no word of hate, but veered before the sudden breath of fate. Our weary while, for ere they put forth sail, did every store, each minish'd vessel fail, while all the Achaean host at Aulis anchored lay, looking across to Chalcis and the coast, where refluent waters welter, rock, and sway, and rife with ill delay, from northern Strymon blew the thwarting blast. Mother of famine fell, that holds men wandering still, far from the haven where they fain would be, and pitiless did waste each ship and cable, rotting on the sea, and doubling with delay each weary hour, withered with hope deferred Achaeans' warlike flower. But when for bitter storm a deadlier relief, and heavier with ill to either chief, pleading the ire of Artemis, the seer avowed, the two Atridae smote their sceptres on the plain, and striving hard could not their tears restrain. And then the elder monarch spake aloud: Ill lot were mine to disobey, and ill to smite my child, my household's love and pride, to stain with virginhood a father's hands, and slay my daughter by the altar's side. 'Twixt woe and woe I dwell, I dare not like a recreant fly, and leave the league of ships, and fail each true ally. For rightfully they crave, with eager, fiery mind, the virgin's blood, shed forth to lull the adverse wind. God send the deed be well.
Thus on his neck he took fate's hard compelling yoke, then in the counter-gale of will abhorred, accursed, to recklessness his shifting spirit veered. Alas, that frenzy, first of ills and worst, with evil craft men's soul to sin hath ever stirred. And so he steeled his heart, well a day, aiding a war for one false woman's sake, his child to slay, and with her spilt blood make an offering to speed the ships upon their way. Lusting for war, the bloody arbiters closed heart and ears, and would not hear nor heed the girl voice plead. Pity me, Father, nor her prayers, nor tender virgin years. So when the chant of sacrifice was done, her father bade the youthful priestly train raise her like some poor kid above the altar stone, from where amid her robes she lay, sunk all in swoon away. Bade them, as with the bit that mutely tames the steed, her fair lips speech refrain, lest she should speak a curse on Atreus' home and seed. So, trailing on the earth her robe of saffron dye, with one last piteous dart from her beseeching eye, those she should smite she smote, fair silent as a pictured form, but fain to plead. Is all forgot? How oft those halls of old, wherein my sire high feasts did hold, rang to the virginal soft strain, when I, a stainless child, sang from pure lips and undefiled, sang of my sire, and all his honoured life, and how on him should fall heaven's highest gift and gain. And then, but I beheld not, nor can tell what further fate befell. But this is sure, that Calchas' boding strain can ne'er be void or vain. This wage from justice's hand do sufferers earn, the future to discern. And yet, farewell, O secret of tomorrow, foreknowledge is foresorrow. Clear with the clear beams of the morrow's sun, the future presseth on. Now let the house's tale, how dark soe'er, find yet an issue fair. So praise the loyal, solitary band that guards the Apian land.
They turn to Clytemnestra, who leaves the altars and comes forward.
O Queen, I come in reverence of thy sway. For, while the ruler's kingly seat is void, the loyal heart before his consort bends. Now, be it sure and certain news of good, all the fair tidings of a flattering hope, that bids thee spread the light from shrine to shrine. I, fain to hear, yet grudge not if thou hide.
As saith the adage, from the womb of night spring forth with promise fair the young child light. Aye, fairer even than all hope my news, by Grecian hands is Priam's city taken.
What sayest thou? Doubtful heart makes treacherous ear.
Hear then again, and plainly, Troy is ours.
Thrills through my heart such joy as wakens tears.
Aye, through those tears thine eye looks loyalty.
But hast thou proof to make assurance sure?
Go to, I have, unless the god has lied.
Hath some night vision won thee to belief?
Out on all presage of a slumberous soul.
But wert thou cheered by rumour's wingless word?
Peace, thou dost chide me as a credulous girl.
Say then, how long ago the city fell?
Even in this night that now brings forth the dawn.
Yet who so swift could speed the message here?
From Ida's top Hephaestus, lord of fire, sent forth his sign, and on and ever on, beacon to beacon sped the courier flame. From Ida to the crag that Hermes loves, of Lemnos, thence unto the steep sublime of Athos, throne of Zeus, the broad blaze flared. Thence, raised aloft to shoot across the sea the moving light, rejoicing in its strength, sped from the pyre of pine and urged its way in golden glory like some strange new sun onward, and reached Megistus's watching heights. There, with no dull delay nor heedless sleep, the watcher sped the tidings on in turn, until the guard upon Messapius' peak saw the far flame gleam on Euripus' tide, and from the high-piled heap of withered firs lit the new sign and bade the message on. Then the strong light, far flown and yet undimmed, shot through the sky above Aesopus' plain, bright as the moon, and on Cytheron's crag aroused another watch of flying fire. And there the sentinels no whit disowned, but sent redoubled on the hest of flame. Swift shot the light above Gorgopus' bay to Aegiplanctus' mount, and bade the peak fail not the onward ordnance of fire. And like a long beard streaming in the wind, full fed with fuel, roared and rose the blaze, and onward flaring gleamed above the cape beneath which shimmers the Saronic bay. And thence leapt the light unto Arachne's peak, the mountain watch that looks upon our town. Thence to the Atrides' roof, in lineage fair, a bright posterity of Ida's fire. So sped from stage to stage, fulfilled in turn, flame after flame, along the course ordained, and lo, the last to speed upon its way sights the end first, and glows unto the goal, and Troy is ta'en, and by this sign my lord tells me the tale, and ye have learned my word.
To heaven, O Queen, will I upraise new song, but wouldst thou speak once more, I fain would hear from first to last the marvel of the tale.
Think you, this very morn the Greeks in Troy, and loud therein the voice of utter wail, within one cup pour vinegar and oil, and look, unblent, unreconciled, they war. So in the twofold issue of the strife mingle the victor's shout, the captive's moan. For all the conquered whom the sword has spared cling weeping, some unto a brother slain, some childlike to a nursing father's form, and wail the loved and lost, the while their neck bows down already neath the captive's chain. And lo, the victors, now the fight is done, goaded by restless hunger, far and wide range all disordered through the town, to snatch such victual and such rest as chance may give within the captive halls that once were Troy. Joyful to rid them of the frost and dew wherein they couched upon the plain of old, joyful to sleep the gracious night all through, unsummoned of the watching sentinel. Yet let them reverence well the city's gods, the lords of Troy though fallen, and her shrines, so shall the spoilers not in turn be spoiled. Yea, let no craving for the forbidden gain bid conquerors yield before the darts of greed. For we need yet, before the race be won, homewards, unharmed, to round the course once more. For should the host wax wanton ere it come, then, though the sudden blow of fate be spared, yet in the sight of gods shall rise once more the great wrong of the slain to claim revenge. Now, hearing from this woman's mouth of mine the tale and eke its warning, pray with me. Luck sway the scale with no uncertain poise, for my fair hopes are changed to fairer joys.
A gracious word thy woman's lips have told, worthy a wise man's utterance. O my Queen, now with clear trust in thy convincing tale, I set me to salute the gods with song, who bring us bliss to counterpoise our pain.
Clytemnestra exits.
Zeus, Lord of heaven, and welcome night of victory, that hast our might with all the glories crowned, on towers of Ilion, free no more, hast flung the mighty mesh of war, and closely girt them round, till neither warrior may scape, nor stripling lightly overleap the trammels as they close, and close, till with the grip of doom our foes in slavery's coil are bound. Zeus, Lord of hospitality, in grateful awe I bend to thee. 'Tis thou hast struck the blow. At Alexander long ago we marked thee bend thy vengeful bow. But long and warily withhold the eager shaft which, uncontrolled, and loosed too soon or launched too high, hath wandered bloodless through the sky. Zeus, the high god, whate'er be dim in doubt, this can our thought track out. The blow that fells the sinner is of God, and as he wills, the rod of vengeance smiteth sore. One said of old, the gods list not to hold a reckoning with him whose feet oppress the grace of holiness. An impious word, for whensoe'er the sire breathed forth rebellious fire, what time his household overflowed the measure of bliss and health and treasure, his children's children read the reckoning plain. At last, in tears and pain, on me let weal that brings no woe descend, and therewithal content. Who spurns the shrine of right, nor wealth nor power shall be to him a tower, to guard him from the gulf. there lies his lot, where all things are forgot. Lust drives him on, lust, desperate and wild, fate's sin-contriving child, and cure is none beyond concealment clear, kindles sin's baleful glare, as an ill coin beneath the wearing touch, betrays by stain and smutch its metal false, such is the sinful wight, before on pinions light fair pleasure flits, and lures him childlike on, while home and kin make moan beneath the grinding burden of his crime, till in the end of time, cast down of heaven, he pours forth fruitless prayer to powers that will not hear. And such did Paris come unto Atrides' home, and thence, with sin and shame his welcome to repay, ravished the wife away. And she unto her country and her kin, leaving the clash of shields and spears and arming ships, and bearing unto Troy destruction for a dower, and overbold in sin, went fleetly through the gates at midnight hour. Oft from the prophet's lips moaned out the warning and the wail, ah, woe! Woe for the home, and for the chieftain's woe, woe for the bride-bed warm, yet from the lovely limbs the impress of the form of her who loved her lord a while ago. And woe for him who stands, shamed, silent, unreproachful, stretching hands that find her not, and sees, yet will not see, that she is far away, and his sad fancy, yearning o'er the sea, shall summon and recall her wraith once more to queen it in his hall, and sad with many memories the fair cold beauty of each sculptured face, and all to hatefulness is turned their grace, seen blankly by forlorn and hungering eyes, and when the night is deep come visions, sweet and sad and bearing pain, of hopings vain, void, void and vain, for scarce the sleeping sight hath seen its old delight, when through the grasps of love that bid it stay, it vanishes away, on silent wings that roam adown the ways of sleep. Such are the sights, the sorrows fell about our hearth, and worth whereof I may not tell. But all the wide town o'er, each home that sent its master far away from Hellas' shore, feels the keen thrill of heart, the pang of loss to-day. For truth to say, the touch of bitter death is manifold. Familiar was each face, and dear as life that went unto the war. But thither, whence a warrior went of old, doth naught return, only a spear and sword and ashes in an urn. For Ares, lord of strife, who doth the swaying scales of battle hold, war's money changer, giving dust for gold, sends back to hearts that held them dear, scant ash of warriors, wept with many a tear, light to the hand, but heavy to the soul, yea, fills the light urn full with what survived the flame, death's dusty measure of a hero's frame. Alas, one cries, and yet alas again, our chief is gone, the hero of the spear, and hath not left his peer. Ah, woe! Another moans, my spouse is slain, the death of honour rolled in dust and blood, slain for a woman's sin, a false wife's shame. Such muttered words of bitter mood rise against those who went forth to reclaim. Yea, jealous wrath creeps on against Atrides' name. And others far beneath the Ilian wall sleep their last sleep, the goodly chiefs and tall, couched in the foeman's land, whereon they gave their breath, and lords of Troy, each in his Trojan grave. Therefore, for each and all the city's breast is heavy with a wrath suppressed, as deep and deadly as a curse more loud, flung by the common crowd, and brooding deeply doth my soul await tidings of coming fate,
buried as yet in darkness' womb. For not forgetful is the high god's doom against the sons of carnage. All too long seems the unjust to prosper and be strong, till the dark Furies come and smite them with stern reversal. All his home down into dim obstruction he is gone, and help and hope among the lost is none. For him who vaunteth an exceeding fame impends a woe condign. The vengeful bolt upon his eyes doth flame, sped from the hand divine. This bliss be mine, ungrudged of God to feel, to tread no city to the dust, nor see my own life thrust down to a slave's estate beneath another's heel. Behold, throughout the city wide have the swift feet of rumour hied, roused by the joyful flame. But is the news they scatter sooth, or haply do they give for truth some cheat which heaven doth frame? A child were he, and all unwise, who let his heart with joy be stirred to see the beacon fires arise, and then, beneath some thwarting word, sicken anon with hope deferred, the age of woman's insight still, good news from true divided ill. Light rumours leap within the bound that fences female credence round, but lightly born as lightly dies the tale that springs of her surmise. Soon shall we know whereof the balefires tell, the beacons kindled with transmitted flame, whether, as well I deem, their tale is true, or whether, like some dream delusive, came the welcome blaze but to befool our soul. For lo, I see a herald from the shore draw hither, shadowed with the olive wreath, and thirsty dust, twin brother of the clay, speaks plain of travel far and truthful news. No dumb surmise, nor tongue of flame in smoke, fitfully kindled from the mountain pyre, but plainlier shall his voice say, all is well, or but away, forebodings adverse now. And on fair promise, fair fulfilment come, and whoso for the state prays otherwise, himself reap harvest of his ill desire.
A herald enters.
O land of Argos, fatherland of mine, to thee at last beneath the 10th year's sun my feet return, the bark of my emprise. Though one by one hope's anchors broke away, held by the last, and now ride safely here. Long, long my soul despaired to win, in death its longed-for rest within our Argive land. And now all hail, O earth, and hail to thee, new risen sun, and hail our country's God, high-ruling Zeus, and thou the Pythian lord, whose arrows smote us once. Smite thou no more. Was not thy wrath wreaked full upon our heads, O King Apollo, by Scamander's side? Turn thou, be turned, be saviour, healer now, and hail all gods who ruled the street and mart, and Hermes hail, my patron and my pride, herald of heaven and lord of heralds hero. And heroes, ye who sped us on our way, to one and all I cry, receive again with grace such Argives as the spear has spared. Ah, home of royalty, beloved halls, and solemn shrines, and gods that front the morn, benign as erst, with sun-flushed aspect, greet the king returning after many days. For as from night flash out the beams of day, so out of darkness dawns a light, a king, on you, on Argos, Agamemnon comes. Then hail and greet him well, such meed befits him whose right hand hewed down the towers of Troy, with the great axe of Zeus who righteth wrong, and smote the plain, smote down to nothingness each altar, every shrine, and far and wide dies from the whole land's face its offspring fair. Such mighty yoke of fate he set on Troy, our lord and monarch, Atreus' elder son, and comes at last with blissful honor home, highest of all who walk on earth today. Not Paris nor the city's self that paid sin's price with him can boast. Whate'er befall, the guerdon we have won outweighs it all. But at fate's judgment seat the robber stands, condemned of rapine, and his prey is torn forth from his hands, and by his deed is reaped a bloody harvest of his home and land, gone down to death, and for his guilt and lust his father's race pays double in the dust.
Hail, herald of the Greeks, new come from war.
All hail! Not death itself can fright me now.
Was thine heart wrung with longing for thy land?
So that this joy doth brim mine eyes with tears.
On you too, then, this sweet distress did fall.
How sayest thou? Make me master of thy word.
You long for us who pine for you again.
Crave the land us who craved it, love for love?
Yea, till my brooding heart moaned out with pain.
Whence thy despair that mars the army's joy?
Sole cure of wrong is silence, saith the saw.
Thy kings afar, couldst thou fear other men?
Death had been sweet, as thou didst say, but now?
'Tis true, fate smiles at last. Throughout our toil, these many years, some chances issued fair, and some, I wot, were checkered with a curse. But who on earth hath won the bliss of heaven, through time's whole tenor and unbroken wheel? I could a tale unfold of toiling oars, ill rest, scant landings on a shore, rock strewn, all pains, all sorrows for our daily doom, and worse and hateful are our woes on land. For where we couched, close by the foeman's wall, the river plain was ever dank with dews, dropped from the sky, exuded from the earth, a curse that clung unto our sodden garb, and hair as horrent as a wild beast's fell. Why tell the woes of winter, when the birds lay stark and stiff, so stern was Ida's snow? Or summer's scorch, what time the stirless wave sank to its sleep beneath the noonday's sun? Why mourn old woes? Their pain is passed away, and passed away from those who fell, all care, for evermore to rise and live again. Why sum the count of death, and render thanks for life, by moaning over fate malign? Farewell, a long farewell to all our woes. To us, the remnant of the host of Greece, comes weal beyond all counterpoise of woe. Thus boast we rightfully to yonder sun, like him far fleeted over sea and land. The Argive host prevailed to conquer Troy, and in the temples of the gods of Greece hung up these spoils, a shining sign to time. Let those who learn this legend bless aright the city and its chieftains, and repay the meed of gratitude to Zeus, who willed and wrought the deed. So stands the tale fulfilled.
Thy words o'erbear my doubt for news of good. The ear of age hath ever youth enow, but those within, and Clytemnestra's self, would fain hear all. Glad thou their ears and mine.
Clytemnestra re-enters.
Last night, when first the fiery courier came in sign that Troy is taken and razed to earth, so wild a cry of joy my lips gave out that I was chidden. Hath the beacon watch made sure unto thy soul the sack of Troy? A very woman thou, whose heart leaps light at wandering rumors. And with words like these, they showed me how I strayed, misled of hope. Yet on each shrine I set the sacrifice, and, in the strain they held for feminine, went heralds through the city to and fro with voice of loud proclaim, announcing joy. And in each fane they lit and quenched with wine the spicy perfumes fading in the flame. All is fulfilled. I spare your longer tale. The king himself anon shall tell me all. Remains to think what honor best may greet my lord, the majesty of Argos, home. What day beams fairer on a woman's eyes than this, whereon she flings the portal wide to hail her lord, heaven-shielded, home from war? This to my husband, that he tarry not, but turn the city's longing into joy. Yea, let him come, and coming, may he find a wife no other than he left her, true and faithful as a watchdog to his home, his foeman's foe in all her duties leal, trusty to keep for 10 long years unmarred the store whereon he set his master's seal. Be steel deep-dyed before ye look to see ill joy, ill fame from other wight in me.
'Tis fairly said, thus speaks a noble dame, nor speaks amiss when truth informs the boast.
Clytemnestra exits.
So has she spoken. Be it yours to learn by clear interpreters her specious word. Turn to me, herald. Tell me if anon the second well-loved lord of Argos comes. Hath Menelaus safely sped with you?
Alas, brief boon unto my friends it were, to flatter them, for truth with falsehood's fair.
Speak joy, if truth be joy, but truth at worst. Look plainly, truth and joy are here divorced.
The hero and his bark were rapt away far from the Grecian fleet? 'Tis truth, I say.
Whether in all men's sight from Ilion borne, or from the fleet by stress of weather torn.
Full on the mark thy shaft of speech doth light, and one short word hath told long woes aright.
But say, what now of him each comrade saith? What their forebodings of his life or death?
Ask me no more. The truth is known to none save the earth-fostering, all-surveying sun.
Say by what doom the fleet of Greece was driven, how rose, how sank the storm, the wrath of heaven.
Nay, ill it were to mar with sorrow's tale the day of blissful news. The gods demand thanksgiving sundered from solicitude. If one as herald came with rueful face to say, the curse has fallen and the host gone down to death, and one wide wound has reached the city's heart, and out of many homes many are cast and consecrate to death beneath the double scourge that Ares loves, the bloody pair, the fire, and the sword of doom. If such sore burden weighed upon my tongue, 'twere fit to speak such words as gladden fiends. But, coming as he comes, who bringeth news of safe return from toil and issues fair, to men rejoicing in a weal restored, dare I to dash good words with ill, and say, how the gods' anger smote the Greeks in storm? For fire and sea that erst held bitter feud, now swore conspiracy and pledged their faith, wasting the Argives worn with toil and war. Night and great horror of the rising wave came o'er us, and the blasts that blow from Thrace clash ship with ship, and some with plunging prow through scudding drifts of spray and raving storm, vanished as strays by some ill shepherd driven. And when at length the sun rose bright, we saw the Aegean sea field flecked with flowers of death, corpses of Grecian men in shattered hulls. For us indeed some god, as I well deem no human power, laid hand upon our helm, snatched us or prayed us from the powers of air, and brought our bark through all, unharmed in hull, and saving fortune sat and steered us fair, so that no surge should gulf us deep in brine, nor grind our keel upon a rocky shore. So scaped we death that lurks beneath the sea. But under day's white light, mistrustful of all of fortune's smile, we sat and brooded deep, shepherds forlorn of thoughts that wandered wild, o'er this new foe, for smitten was our host, and lost as ashes scattered from the pyre, of whom if any draw his life breath yet, be well assured, he deems of us as dead, and we of him no other fate forebode, but heaven save all. If Menelaus live, he will not tarry, but will surely come. Therefore, if anywhere the high sun's ray descries him upon earth, preserved by Zeus, who wills not yet to wipe his race away, hope still there is that homeward he may win. Enough, thou hast the truth unto the end.
Say, from whose lips the presage fell, who read the future all too well, and named her, in her natal hour, Helen, the bride with war for dower. 'Twas one of the invisible, guiding his tongue with prescient power on fleet and host and citadel. War sprung from her, and death did lour, when from the bride bed's fine-spun veil she to the zephyr spread her sail. Strong blew the breeze, the surge closed o'er the cloven track of keel and oar, but while she fled, there drove along, fast in her wake, a mighty throng, athirst for blood, athirst for war. Forward in fell pursuit they sprung, then leapt on Simois' bank ashore. The leafy coppices among, no rangers they of wood and field, but huntsmen of the sword and shield. Heaven's jealousy, that works its will, sped thus on Troy its destined ill. Well named at once the bride and bane, and loud rang out the bridal strain. But they to whom that song befell did turn anon to tears again. Zeus tarries, but avenges still the husband's wrong, the household's stain. He, the hearth's lord, brooks not to see its outraged hospitality. Even now, and in far other tone, Troy chants her dirge of mighty moan. Woe upon Paris, woe and hate, who wooed his country's doom for mate. This is the burden of the groan, wherewith she wails disconsolate. The blood so many of her own have poured in vain to fend her fate. Troy thou hast fed and freed to roam, a lion cub within thy home. A suckling creature, newly ta'en from mother's teat, still fully fain of nursing care, and oft caressed within the arms, upon the breast, even as an infant has it lain, or fawns and licks, by hunger pressed, the hand that will assuage its pain. In life's young dawn, a well-loved guest, a fondling for the children's play, a joy unto the old and grey. But waxing time and growth betrays the bloodthirst of the lion race, and for the house's fostering care, unbidden all, it revels there, and bloody recompense repays. Red flesh of time its talons tear, a mighty beast that slays, and mars with blood the household fair, a god-sent pest invincible, a minister of fate and hell. Even so to Ilion's city came by stealth a spirit as of windless seas and skies, a gentle phantom form of joy and wealth, with love's soft arrows speeding from its eyes, love's rose, whose thorn doth pierce the soul in subtle wise. Ah, well a day, the bitter bridal bed, when the fair mischief lay by Paris' side. What curse on palace and on people sped with her the fury sent on Priam's pride by angered Zeus? What tears of many a widowed bride! Long, long ago to mortals this was told, how sweet security and blissful state have curses for their children, so men hold, and for the man of all too prosperous fate springs from a bitter seed some woe insatiate. Alone, alone, I deem far otherwise. Not bliss nor wealth it is, but impious deed, from which that after growth of ill doth rise. Woe springs from wrong, the plant is like the seed, while right in honour's house doth its own likeness breed. Some past impiety, some grey old crime, breeds the young curse that wantons in our ill, early or late, when haps the appointed time, and out of light brings power of darkness still, a master fiend, a foe unseen, invincible. A pride accursed that broods upon the race, and home in which dark Ate holds her sway, sin's child and woes that wears its parent's face, while right in smoky cribs shines clear as day, and decks with weal his life who walks the righteous way. From gilded halls that hands polluted raise, right turns away with proud averted eyes, and of the wealth men stamp amiss with praise, heedless to poorer, holier temple hies, and to fate's goal guides all in its appointed wise. Hail to thee, chief of Atreus' race, returning proud from Troy subdued! How shall I greet thy conquering face? How, nor of fulsome praise obtrude, nor stint the meed of gratitude? For mortal men who fall to ills take little heed of open truth, but seek unto its semblance still the show of weeping and of ruth. To the forlorn will all men pay, but of the grief their eyes display, naught to the heart doth pierce its way. And with the joyous they beguile their lips unto a feigned smile, and force a joy unfelt the while. But he who as a shepherd wise doth know his flock can ne'er misread truth in the falsehood of his eyes, who veils beneath a kindly guise a lukewarm love indeed. And thou, our leader, when of yore thou badst Greece go forth to war for Helen's sake, I dare avow that then I held thee not as now, that to my vision thou didst seem dyed in the hues of disesteem. I held thee for a pilot ill, and reckless of thy proper will, endowing others doomed to die with vain and forced audacity. Now from my heart ungrudgingly to those that wrought this word be said, well fall the labour ye have sped. Let time and search, O King, declare what men within thy cities bound were loyal to the kingdom's care, and who were faithless found.
Agamemnon enters in a chariot, accompanied by Cassandra. He speaks without descending.
First, as is meet, a king's all hail be said to Argos, and the gods that guard the land, gods who with me availed to speed us home, with me availed to wring from Priam's town the due of justice. In the court of heaven the gods in conclave sat, and judged the cause, not from a pleader's tongue, and at the close, unanimous into the urn of doom, this sentence gave, on Ilion and her men, death. And where hope drew nigh to pardons earned, no hand there was to cast a vote therein. And still the smoke of fallen Ilion rises in sight of all men, and the flame of Ate's hecatomb is living yet. And where the towers in dusty ashes sink, rise the rich fumes of pomp and wealth consumed. For this must all men pay unto the gods, the meed of mindful hearts and gratitude. For by our hands the meshes of revenge closed on the prey, and for one woman's sake, Troy, trodden by the Argive monster, lies. The foal, the shielded band that leapt the wall, what time with autumn sank the Pleiades. Yea, o'er the fencing wall a lion sprang ravening, and lapped his fill of blood of kings. Such prelude, spoken to the gods in full, to you I turn, and to the hidden thing whereof ye spake but now. And in that thought I am as you, and what ye say, say I. For few are they who have such inborn grace, as to look upon with love, and envy not, when stands another on the height of the wheel. Deep in his heart whom jealousy hath seized, her poison lurking doth enhance his load. For now beneath his proper woes he chafes, and sighs withal to see another's weal. I speak not idly, but from knowledge sure. There be who vaunt an utter loyalty, that is but as the ghost of friendship dead, a shadow in a glass of faith gone by. One only, he who went reluctant forth across the seas with me, Odysseus, he was loyal unto me with strength and will, a trusty trace-horse bound unto my car. Thus, be he yet beneath the light of day, or dead, as well I fear, I speak his praise. Lastly, whate'er be due to men or gods, with joint debate, in public council held we will decide, and warily contrive that all which now is well may so abide. For that which happily needs the healer's art, that will we medicine, discerning well if cautery or knife befit the time. Now to my palace and the shrines of home I will pass in, and greet you first and fair, ye gods, who bade me forth and home again. And long may victory tarry in my train.
Clytemnestra enters, followed by maidens bearing purple robes.
Old men of Argos, lieges of our realm, shame shall not bid me shrink, lest ye should see the love I bear my lord. Such blushing fear dies at the last from hearts of humankind. From mine own soul, and from no alien lips, I know and will reveal the life I bore, reluctant, through the lingering livelong years, the while my lord beleaguered Ilion's wall. First, that a wife sat sundered from her lord in widowed solitude was utter woe. And woe, to hear how rumour's many tongues all boded evil. Woe, when he who came and he who followed spake of ill on ill, keening, lost, lost, all lost, through hale and bower. Had this my husband met so many wounds as by 1,000 channels rumour told, no network e'er was full of holes as he. Had he been slain as oft as tidings came that he was dead, he well might boast him now a second Geryon of triple frame, with triple robe of earth above him laid, for that below, no matter how triply dead, dead by one death for every form he bore. And thus, distraught by news of wrath and woe, oft for self-slaughter had I slung the noose, but others wrenched it from my neck away. Hence haps it that Orestes, thine and mine, the pledge and symbol of our wedded troth, stands not beside us now, as he should stand. Nor marvel thou at this, he dwells with one who guards him loyally. 'Tis Phocis' king, Strophius, who warned me erst, Bethink thee, queen, what woes of doubtful issue well may fall, thy lord in daily jeopardy at Troy, while here a populace uncurbed may cry, Down with the council, down! Bethink thee too, 'tis the world's way to set a harder heel on fallen power. For thy child's absence then, such mine excuse, no wily afterthought. For me, long since the gushing fount of tears is wept away, no drop is left to shed. Dim are the eyes that ever watched till dawn, weeping, the balefires piled for thy return, night after night unkindled. If I slept, each sound, the tiny humming of a gnat, roused me again from fitful dreams wherein I felt thee smitten, saw thee slain, thrice for each moment of mine hour of sleep. All this I bore, and now, released from woe, I hail my lord as watchdog of a fold, as saving stay-rope of a storm-tossed ship, as column stout that holds the roof aloft, as only child unto a sire bereaved, as land beheld past hope by crews forlorn, as sunshine fair when tempest's wrath is past, as gushing spring to thirsty wayfarer. So sweet it is to scape the press of pain. With such salute I bid my husband hail, for heaven be wroth therewith, for long and hard I bore that ire of old. Sweet lord, step forth, step from thy car, I pray thee. Nay, not on earth plant the proud foot, O king, that trod down Troy. Women, why tarry ye, whose task it is to spread your monarch's path with tapestry? Swift, swift, with purple strew his passage fair, that justice lead him to a home at last he scarcely looked to see. For what remains, zeal unsubdued by sleep shall nerve my hand to work as right and as the gods command.
Daughter of Leda, watcher o'er my home, thy greeting well befits mine absence long, for late and hardly has it reached its end. Know that the praise which honour bids us crave must come from others' lips, not from our own. See too that not in fashion feminine thou make a warrior's pathway delicate. Not unto me, as to some eastern lord, bowing thyself to earth, make homage loud. Strew not this purple that shall make each step an arrogance. Such pomp beseems the gods, not me. A mortal man to set his foot on these rich dyes? I hold such pride in fear, and bid thee honour me as man, not god. Fear not. Such footcloths, and all gods apart. Loud from the trump of fame my name is blown. Best gift of heaven it is, in glory's hour, to think thereon with soberness. And thou? Bethink thee of the adage, Call none blessed, till peaceful death have crowned a life of weal. 'Tis said, I fain would fare unvexed by fear.
Nay, but unsay it, thwart not thou my will.
No, I have said, and will not mar my word.
Was it fear made this meekness to the gods?
If cause be cause, 'tis mine for this resolve.
What thinkest thou in thy place had Priam done?
He surely would have walked on broidered robes.
Then fear not thou the voice of human blame.
Yet mighty is a murmur of a crowd.
Shrink not from envy, appanage of bliss.
War is not the woman's part, nor war of words.
Yet happy victors well may yield therein.
Dost crave for triumph in this petite strife?
Yield, of thy grace permit me to prevail.
Then, if thou wilt, let some one stoop to loose swiftly these sandals, slaves beneath my foot. And stepping thus upon the sea's rich dye, I pray, let none among the gods look down with jealous eye on me, reluctant all to trample thus and mar a thing of price, wasting the wealth of garments' silver worth. Enough hereof, and for the stranger maid, lead her within, but gently. God on high looks graciously on him whom triumph's hour has made not pitiless. None willingly wear the slave's yoke, and she, the prize and flower of all we won, comes hither in my train. Gift of the army to its chief and lord. Now, since in this my will bows down to thine, I will pass in on purples to my home.
A sea there is, and who shall stay its springs? And deep within its breast a mighty store, precious as silver, of the purple dye, whereby the dipped robe doth its tint renew. Enough of such, O king, within thy halls there lies a store that cannot fail. But I I would have gladly vowed unto the gods cost of 1,000 garments trodden thus, had once the oracle such gift required, contriving ransom for thy life preserved. For while the stalk is firm the foliage climbs, spreading a shade what time the dog-star glows. And thou, returning to thine hearth and home, art as a genial warmth in winter hours, or as coolness when the Lord of heaven mellows the juice within the bitter grape. Such boons and more doth bring into a home the present footstep of its proper lord. Zeus, Zeus, fulfilment's lord, my vows fulfill, and whatsoe'er it be, work forth thy will.
All but Cassandra and the chorus exit.
End of Part 1. Section 2.
Agamemnon.
Part 2.
Wherefore, for ever on the wings of fear, hovers a vision drear before my boding heart. A strain unbidden and unwelcome thrills mine ear, oracular of pain. Not as of old upon my bosom's throne sits confidence, to spurn such fears like dreams we know not to discern. Old, old and grey, long since the time has grown, which saw the linked cables moor the fleet, when erst it came to Ilion's sandy shore. And now mine eyes, and not another's, see their safe return. Yet none the less in me the inner spirit sings a boding song, self-prompted sings the Furies' strain, and seeks in vain to hope and to be strong. Ah, to some end of fate unseen, unguessed, are these wild throbbings of my heart and breast? Yea, of some doom they tell, each pulse a knell. Lief, lief were I that all to unfulfilment's hidden realm might fall. Too far our mortal spirits strive, grasping at utter weal, unsatisfied, till the fell curse that dwelleth hard beside thrust down the sundering wall. Too fair they blow, the gales that waft our bark on fortune's tide. Swiftly we sail, the sooner all to drive upon the hidden rock, the reef of woe. Then, if the hand of caution warily sling forth into the sea part of the freight, lest all should sink below, from the deep death it saves the bark. Even so, doom-laden though it be, once more may rise his household, who is timely wise. How oft the famine-stricken field is saved by God's large gift, the new year's yield. But blood of man once spilled, once at his feet shed forth, and darkening the plain, nor chant nor charm can call it back again. So Zeus hath willed, else had he spared the liege Asclepius, skilled to bring man from the dead. The hand divine did smite himself with death, a warning and a sign. Ah me, if fate ordained of old held not the will of gods constrained, controlled, helpless to us ward and apart, swifter than speech my heart had poured its presage out. Now, fretting, chafing in the dark of doubt, 'tis hopeless to unfold truth from fear's tangled skein, and yearning to proclaim its thought, my soul is prophecy and flame.
Clytemnestra re-enters.
Get thee within, thou too, Cassandra. Go. For Zeus to thee in gracious mercy grants to share the sprinklings of the lustral bowl, beside the altar of his guardianship, slave among many slaves. What? Haughty still? Step from the car. Alcmena's son, 'tis said, was sold perforce and bore the yoke of old. Ay, hard it is, but if such fate befall, 'tis a fair chance to serve within a home of ancient wealth and power. An upstart lord, to whom wealth's harvest came beyond his hope, is as a lion to his slaves, in all exceeding fierce, immoderate in sway. Pass in, thou hearest what our ways will be.
Clear unto thee, O maid, is her command, but thou, within the toils of fate, thou art, if such thy will, I urge thee to obey. Yet I misdoubt thou dost not hear nor heed.
I wot, unless like swallows she doth use some strange barbarian tongue from oversea, my words must speak persuasion to her soul.
Obey, there is no gentler way than this. Step from the car's high seat and follow her.
Truce to this bootless waiting here without. I will not stay. Beside the central shrine the victims stand, prepared for knife and fire, offerings from hearts beyond all hope made glad. Thou, if thou reckest aught my command, 'twere well done soon. But if thy sense be shut from these my words, let thy barbarian hand fulfill by gesture the default of speech.
No native is she, thus to read thy words unaided, like some wild thing of the wood, new trapped. Behold, she shrinks and glares on thee.
'Tis madness and the rule of mind distraught, since she beheld her city sink in fire, and hither comes, nor brooks the bit, until in foam and blood her wrath be champed away. See ye to her. Unqueenly 'tis for me, unheeded thus, to cast away my words.
Clytemnestra exits.
But with me pity sits in anger's place. Poor maiden, come thou from the car. No way there is but this. Take up thy servitude.
Woe, woe, alas! Earth, Mother Earth, and thou, Apollo, Apollo.
Peace. Shriek not to the bright prophetic god, who will not brook the suppliance of woe.
Woe, woe, alas! Earth, Mother Earth, and thou, Apollo, Apollo.
Hark, with wild curse she calls anew on him who stands far off and loathes the voice of wail.
Apollo, Apollo, god of all ways, but only death's to me. Once again, O thou destroyer named, thou hast destroyed me, thou, my love of old.
She grows presageful of her woes to come, slave though she be, instinct with prophecy.
Apollo, Apollo, god of all ways, but only death's to me. O thou Apollo, thou destroyer named, what way hast led me, to what evil home?
Know'st thou it not, the home of Atreus' race? Take these my words, forsooth, and ask no more.
Home cursed of God, bear witness unto me. Ye visioned woes within, the blood-stained hands of them that smite their kin, the strangling noose, and spattered o'er with human blood the reeking floor.
How like a sleuth-hound questing on the track, keen-scented unto blood and death she hies.
Ah, can the ghostly guidance fail, whereby my prophet's soul is onwards led? Look, for their flesh the spectre-children wail, their sodden limbs on which their father fed.
Long since we knew of thy prophetic fame, but for those deeds we seek no prophet's tongue.
God, 'tis another crime, worse than the storied woe of olden time. Cureless, abhorred, that one is plotting here, a shaming death for those that should be dear. Alas, and far away in foreign land, he that should help doth stand.
I knew th' old tales, the city rings with all, but now thy speech is dark, beyond my ken.
O wretch, O purpose fell! Thou for thy wedded lord the cleansing wave hast poured a treacherous welcome. How the sequel tell? Too soon 'twill come, too soon, for now, even now, she smites him blow on blow.
Riddles beyond my reed, I peer in vain through the dim films that screen the prophecy.
God, a new sight! A net, a snare of hell, set by her hand, herself a snare more fell. A wedded wife, she slays her lord, helped by another hand. Ye powers whose hate of Atreus' home no blood can satiate, rise and wild cry above the sacrifice abhorred.
Why biddest thou some fiend, I know not whom, shriek o'er the house? Thine is no cheering word. Back to my heart in frozen fear I feel my waning love-blood run, the blood that round the wounding steel ebbs slow, as sinks life's parting sun. Swift, swift and sure, some woe comes pressing on.
Away, away, keep him away! The monarch of the herd, the pasture's pride, far from his mate in treacherous wrath, muffling his swarthy horns, with secret scathe she gores his fenceless side. Hark! In the brimming bath, the heavy plash, the dying cry. Hark in the lava, hark, he falls by treachery.
I read amiss dark sayings such as thine, yet something warns me that they tell of ill. O dark prophetic speech, ill tidings dost thou teach ever to mortals here below, ever some tale of awe and woe through all my windings manifold do we unriddle and unfold.
Ah, well a day! The cup of agony whereof I chant foams with a draught for me. Ah, Lord, ah, Leader, thou hast led me here. Was't but to die with thee whose doom is near?
Distraught thou art, divinely stirred, and wailest for thyself a tuneless lay, as piteous as the ceaseless tale wherewith the brown melodious bird dost ever it is wail, deep bowered in sorrow all its little lifetime's day.
Ah, for thy fate, O shrill-voiced nightingale! Some solace for thy woes did heaven afford, clothed thee with soft brown plumes, and life apart from wail. But for my death is edged the double-biting sword.
What pangs are these, what fruitless pain, sent on thee from on high? Thou chantest terror's frantic strain, yet in shrill measured melody. How thus, unerring, canst thou sweep along the prophet's path of boding song?
Woe, Paris! Woe on thee! Thy bridal joy was death and fire upon thy race and Troy. And woe for thee, Scamander's flood! Beside thy banks, O river fair, I grew in tender nursing care from childhood unto maidenhood. Now, not by thine, but by Coctus stream and Acheron's banks shall ring my boding scream.
Too plain is all, too plain. A child might read aright thy fateful strain. Deep in my heart their piercing fang terror and sorrow set, the while I heard that piteous, low, tender word. Yet to mine ear and heart a crushing pang.
Woe for my city! Woe for Ilion's fall! Father, how oft with sanguine stain streamed on thy altar stone the blood of cattle, slain that heaven might guard our wall. But all was shed in vain. Low lie the shattered towers whereas they fell, and I, ah, burning heart, shall soon lie low as well.
Of sorrow is thy song, of sorrow still. Alas, what power of ill sits heavy on thy heart, and bids thee tell, in tears of perfect moan, thy deadly tale? Some woe, I know not what, must close thy piteous wail.
List for no more presage of my soul, bride-like, shall peer from its secluding veil, but as the morning winds blow clear the east, more bright shall blow the wind of prophecy, and as against the low bright line of dawn heaves high and higher yet the rolling wave, so in the clearing skies of prescience dawns on my soul a further, deadlier woe. And I will speak, but in dark speech no more. Bear ye witness, and follow at my side. I scent the trail of blood shed long ago. Within this house a choir abidingly chants in harsh unison the chant of ill. Yea, and they drink, for more enhardened joy, man's blood for wine, and revel in the halls, departing never, furies of the home. They sit within, they chant the primal curse, each spitting hatred on that crime of old. The brother's couch, the love incestuous that brought forth hatred to the ravisher. Say, is my speech wild and erring now, or doth its arrow cleave the mark indeed? They called me once the prophetess of lies, the wandering hag, the pest of every door. Attest ye now, she knows in very sooth the house's curse, the storied infamy.
Yet how should oath, how loyally soe'er I swear it, aught avail thee, in good sooth?
My wonder meets thy claim. I stand amazed that thou, a maiden born beyond the seas, dost as a native know and tell aright tales of a city of an alien tongue.
That is my power, a boon Apollo gave.
God though he were, yearning for a mortal maid?
Aye, what seemed shame of old is shame no more.
Such finer sense suits not with slavery.
He strove to win me, panting for my love.
Came ye by compact unto bridal joys?
Nay, for I plighted troth, then foiled the god.
Wert thou already dowered with prescience?
Yea, prophetess to Troy of all her doom.
How left thee then Apollo's wrath unscathed?
I, false to him, seemed prophet false to all.
Not so, to us at least thy words seem sooth.
Woe for me, woe, again the agony, dread pain that sees the future all too well, with ghastly preludes whirls and racks my soul. Behold ye, yonder, on the palace roof, the spectre children sitting. Look, such things as dreams are made on, phantoms as of babes, horrible shadows that a kinsman's hand hath marked with murder, and their arms are full, a rueful burden, see they hold them up, the entrails upon which their father fed. For this I say their plots revenge, a coward lion crouching in the lair, guarding the gate against my master's foot. My master, mine, I bear the slave's yoke now, and he, the lord of ships, who trod down Troy, knows not the fawning treachery of tongue of this thing false and dog-like, how her speech glozes and sleeks her purpose, till she win by ill fate's favour the desired chance, moving like Ate to a secret end. O aweless soul, the woman slays her lord. Woman, what loathsome monster of the earth were fit comparison? The double snake, or Scylla where she dwells, the seaman's bane girt round with rocks? Some hag of hell, raving a truceless curse upon her kin. Hark, even now she cries exultingly, the vengeful cry that tells of battle turned. How fain, forsooth, to greet her chief restored! Nay then, believe me not. What skills belief or disbelief? Fate works its will, and thou wilt see and say in ruth, her tale was true.
Ah, 'tis Thyestes' feast on kindred flesh. I guess her meaning, and with horror thrill, hearing no shadowed hint or the all-true tale, but its full hatefulness. Yet for the rest, far from the track I roam, and know no more.
'Tis Agamemnon's doom thou shalt behold.
Peace, hapless woman, to thy boding words.
Far from my speech stands he who sains and saves.
Aye, were such doom at hand, which God forbid.
Thou prayest idly, these move swift to slay.
What man prepares a deed of such despite?
Fool, thus to read amiss mine oracles.
Deviser and device are dark to me.
Dark, all too well I speak the Grecian tongue.
Aye, but in thine, as in Apollo's strains, familiar is the tongue, but dark the thought.
Ah, the fire! It waxes near me now. Woe, woe for me, Apollo of the dawn! Lo, how the woman thing, the lioness crouched with the wolf, her noble mate afar, will slay me, slave forlorn. Yea, like some witch she drugs the cup of wrath, that slays her lord with double death, his recompense for me. Aye, 'tis for me the prey he bore from Troy, that she hath sworn his death, and edged the steel. Ye wands, ye wreaths that cling around my neck, ye showed me prophetess, yet scorned of all. I stamp you into death, or ere I die, down to destruction. Thus I stand revenged. Go crown some other with a prophet's woe. Look, it is he, it is Apollo's self, rending from me the prophet robe he gave. God, while I wore it yet, thou saw'st me mocked, there at my home by each malicious mouth, to all and each an undivided scorn, the name alike in fate of witch and cheat. Woe, poverty, and famine all I bore, and at this last the god hath brought me here into death's toil, and what his love had made, his hate unmakes me now, and I shall stand, not now before the altar of my home, but me, a slaughter-house and block of blood, shall see hewn down a reeking sacrifice. Ye shall, the gods, have heed of me who die, for by their will shall one requite my doom. He to avenge his father's blood outpoured shall smite and slay with matricidal hand. Aye, he shall come, though far away he roam, a banished wanderer in a strange land, to crown his kindred's edifice of ill, called home to vengeance by his father's fall. Thus have the high gods sworn, and shall fulfill. And why now mourn I, tarrying on earth, since first mine Ilion has found its fate, and since I beheld, and those who won the wall pass to such issue as the gods ordain? I too will pass, and like them dare to die.
Cassandra turns and looks upon the palace door.
Portal of Hades, thus I bid thee hail. Grant me one boon, a swift and mortal stroke, that all unwrung by pain, with ebbing blood shed forth in quiet death, I close mine eyes.
Maid of mysterious woes, mysterious lore, long was thy prophecy, but if aright, thou readest all thy fate. How, thus unscared, dost thou approach the altar of thy doom, as fronts the knife some victim, heaven controlled?
Friends, there is no avoidance in delay.
Yet who delays the longest is the gain.
The day is come. Flight was small gain to me.
O brave endurance of a soul resolved!
That were ill praise for those of happier doom.
All fame is happy, even famous death.
Ah, sire, ah, brethren, famous once were ye.
She moves to enter the house, then starts back.
What fear is this that scares thee from the house?
Pah!
What is this cry, some dark despair of soul?
Pah! The house fumes with stench and spilleth of blood.
How? 'Tis the smell of household offerings.
'Tis rank as charnel scent from open graves.
Thou canst not mean this scented Syrian nard.
Nay, let me pass within to cry aloud the monarch's fate and mine. Enough of life. Ah, friends, bear to me witness, since I fall in death, that not as birds that shun the bush and scream I moan in idle terror. This attest when for my death's revenge another dies, a woman for a woman, and a man falls for a man ill-wedded to his curse. Grant me this boon, the last before I die.
Brave to the last, I mourn thy doom foreseen.
Once more one utterance, but not of wail, though for my death, and then I speak no more. I, thou whose beam I shall not see again, to thee I cry, let those whom vengeance calls to slay their kindred slayers, quit withal the death of me, the slave, the fenceless prey. Ah, state of mortal man, in time of weal, a line, a shadow, and if ill fate fall, one wet sponge sweep wipes all our trace away. and this I deem less piteous of the twain.
Cassandra exits into the palace.
Too true it is, our mortal state with bliss is never satiate, and none before the palace high and stately of prosperity cries to us with a voice of fear, "Away, 'tis ill to enter here." Lo, this our Lord hath trodden down, by grace of heaven, old Priam's town, and praised as God he stands once more on Argos' shore. Yet now, if blood shed long ago cries out that other blood shall flow, his life-blood, his, to pay again the stern requital of the slain. Peace to that braggart's vaunting vain, who, having heard the chieftain's tale, yet boasts of bliss untouched by bale.
A loud cry is heard from within.
Oh, I am sped. A deep, a mortal blow.
Listen, listen, who is screaming as in mortal agony?
Oh, again, another blow.
The bloody act is over, I have heard the monarch cry. Let us swiftly take some counsel, lest we too be doomed to die.
'Tis best, I judge, aloud for aid to call, O loyal Argives, to the palace all.
Better, I deem, ourselves to bear the aid, and drag the deed to light while drips the blade.
Such will is mine, and what thou say'st I say. Swiftly to act, the time brooks no delay.
Aye, for 'tis plain, this prelude of their song foretells its close in tyranny and wrong. Behold, we tarry, but thy name delay. They spurn, and press with sleepless hand to slay.
I know not what 'twere well to counsel now. Who wills to act, 'tis his to counsel how.
Thy doubt is mine, for when a man is slain, I have no words to bring his life again.
What, e'en for life's sake, bowers to obey these house dividers and their tyrant sway?
Unmanly doom, 'twere better far to die. Death is a gentler lord than tyranny.
Think well. Must cry or sign of woe or pain fix our conclusion that the chief is slain?
Such talk befits us when the deed we see. Conjecture dwells afar from certainty.
I read one will from many a diver's word, to know aright how stands it with our Lord.
The scene opens, disclosing Clytemnestra, who comes forward. The body of Agamemnon lies, muffled in a long robe, within a silver-sided laver. The corpse of Cassandra is laid beside him.
Ho, ye who heard me speak so long and oft the glozing words that led me to my will, hear how I shrink not to unsay it all. How else should one who willeth to requite evil for evil to an enemy disguised as friend weave the mesh straightly round him, not to be overleaped, a net of doom? This is the sum and issue of old strife, of me deep pondered and at length fulfilled. All is avowed, and as I smote, I stand with foot set firm upon a finished thing. I turn not to denial. Thus I wrought, so that he could nor flee nor ward his doom. Even as the trammel hems the scaly shoal, I trapped him with inextricable toils, the ill abundance of a baffling robe, then smote him once, again, and at each wound he cried aloud, then, as in death, relaxed each limb and sank to the earth. And as he lay, once more I smote him with the last third blow sacred to Hades, saviour of the dead. And thus he fell. And as he passed away, spirit with body chafed, each dying breath flung from his breast swift bubbling jets of gore, and the dark sprinklings of the rain of blood fell upon me, and I was fain to feel that dew. Not sweeter is the rain of heaven to cornland when the green sheath teems with grain. Elders of Argos, since the thing stands so, I bid you to rejoice, if such your will. Rejoice or not, I vaunt and praise the deed, and well I ween, if seemly it could be, 'twere not ill done to pour libations here, justly, more than justly, on his corpse who filled his home with curses as with wine, and thus returned to drain the cup he filled.
I marvel at thy tongue's audacity, to vaunt thus loudly o'er a husband slain.
Ye hold me as a woman weak of will, and strive to sway me, but my heart is stout, nor fears to speak its uttermost to you, albeit ye know its message. Praise or blame, even as ye list, I reck not of your words. Lo, At my feet lies Agamemnon slain, my husband once, and him this hand of mine a right contriver fashioned for his death. Behold the deed.
Woman, what deadly birth, what venomed essence of the earth, what dark distilment of the wave to thee such passion gave, nerving thine hand to set upon thy brow this burning crown, the curses of thy land, our king by thee cut off, hewn down? Go forth, they cry, accursed and forlorn to hate and scorn.
O ye just men, who speak my sentence now, the city's hate, the ban of all my realm, ye had no voice of old to launch such doom on him, my husband, when he held as light my daughter's life as that of sheep or goat, one victim from the thronging fleecy fold. Yea, slew in sacrifice his child and mine, the well-loved issue of my travail pangs, to lull and lay the gales that blew from Thrace. That deed of his, I say, that stain and shame, had rightly be atoned by banishment. But ye, who then were dumb, are stern to judge this deed of mine that doth affront your ears. Storm out your threats, yet knowing this forsooth, that I am ready, if your hand prevail as mine now doth, to bow beneath your sway. If God say nay, it shall be yours to learn by chastisement a late humility.
Bold is thy craft and proud, thy confidence, thy vaunting loud, thy soul that chose a murderess's fate is all with blood elate, maddened to know the blood not yet avenged, the damned spot, crimson upon thy brow. But fate prepares thee for thy lot, smitten as thou didst smite, without a friend to meet thine end.
Hear then the sanction of the oath I swear. By the great vengeance for my murdered child, by Ate, by the fury unto whom this man lies sacrificed by hand of mine, I do not look to tread the hall of fear. While in this hearth and home of mine there burns the light of love, Aegisthus, as of old, loyal, a stalwart shield of confidence, as true to me as this slain man was false, wronging his wife with paramours at Troy, fresh from the kiss of each Chryseis there. Behold him dead, behold his captive prize, seeress and harlot, comfort of his bed, true prophetess, true paramour. I wot the sea-bench was not closer to the flesh full oft of every rower than was she. See, ill they did, and ill requites them now. His death ye know. She, as a dying swan, sang her last dirge, and lies as erst she lay, close to his side, and to my couch has left a sweet new taste of joys that know no fear.
Ah, woe and well-a-day! I would that fate, not bearing agony too great, nor stretching me too long on couch of pain, would bid mine eyelids keep the morningless and unawakening sleep. For life is weary now my lord is slain, the gracious among kings. Hard fate of old he bore, and many grievous things, and for a woman's sake on Ilian land, now is his life hewn down, and by a woman's hand. O Helen, O infatuate soul, who bedst the tides of battle roll, overwhelming thousands, life on life, 'neath Ilian's wall. And now lies dead the lord of all, the blossom of thy storied sin, bears blood's inexpiable stain. O thou that erst these halls within wert unto all a rock of strife, a husband's bane.
Peace! Pray not thou for death as though thine heart was whelmed beneath this woe, nor turn thy wrath aside to ban the name of Helen, nor recall how she, one bane of many a man, sent down to death the Danaan lords, to sleep at Troy the sleep of swords, and wrought the woe that shattered all.
Fiend of the race that swoopest fell upon the double stock of Tantalus, lording it o'er me by a woman's will, stern, manful, and imperious, a bitter sway to me. Thy very form I see, like some grim raven perched upon the slain, exulting o'er the crime aloud in tuneless strain.
Right was that word. Thou namest well the brooding race-fiend, triply fell. From him it is that murder's thirst, blood-lapping, inwardly is nursed. Ere time the ancient scar can sain, new blood comes welling forth again.
Grim is his wrath, and heavy on our home, that fiend of whom thy voice has cried. Alas, an omened cry of woe unsatisfied, an all-devouring doom. Ah, woe, ah, Zeus, from Zeus all things befall. Zeus, the high cause and finisher of all. Lord of our mortal state, by him are willed. All things by him fulfilled. Yet, ah, my king no more. What words to say, what tears to pour, can tell my love for thee? The spider web of treachery, she wove and wound thy life around, and lo, I see thee lie, and through a coward, impious wound, pant forth thy life and die. A death of shame, ah, woe on woe, a treacherous hand, a cleaving blow.
My guilt thou harpest o'er and o'er. I bid thee reckon me no more as Agamemnon's spouse. The old avenger, stern of mood, for Atreus and his feast of blood, hath struck the lord of Atreus' house, and in the semblance of his wife the king hath slain, yea, for the murdered children's life a chieftain's in requital ta'en.
Thou, guiltless of this murder, thou, who dares such a thought avow? Yet it may be, wrath for the parent's deed, the fiend hath holpen thee to slay the son. Dark Ares, god of death, is pressing on through streams of blood by kindred shed, exacting the account for children dead, for clotted blood, for flesh on which their sire did feed. Yet, ah, my king no more. What words to say, what tears to pour, can tell my love for thee? The spider web of treachery, she wove and wound thy life around, and lo, I see thee lie, and through a coward impious wound, pant forth thy life and die. A death of shame, ah, woe on woe, a treacherous hand, a cleaving blow.
I deem not that the death he died had overmuch of shame. For this was he who did provide foul wrong unto his house and name. His daughter, blossom of my womb, he gave unto a deadly doom, Iphigenia, child of tears. And as he wrought, even so he fares. Nor be his vaunt too loud in hell, for by the sword his sin he wrought, and by the sword himself is brought among the dead to dwell.
Now whither shall I fly? For all in ruin sinks the kingly hall. Nor swift device nor shift of thought have I to 'scape its fall. A little while the gentler raindrops fail. I stand distraught at ghastly interval, till on the roof-tree rings the bursting hail of blood and doom. Even now fate whets the steel of whetstones new and deadlier than of old. The steel that smites injustice's hold, another death to deal. O earth, that I had lain at rest, and lapped for ever in thy breast, ere I had seen my chieftain fall within the laver's silver wall, low lying on dishonoured bier, and who shall give him sepulchre, and who the wail of sorrow pour? Woman, 'tis thine no more, a graceless gift unto his shade, such tribute by his murderers paid. Strive not thus wrongly to atone the impious deed thy hand hath done. And who above the godlike chief shall weep the tears of loyal grief? Who speak above his lowly grave the last sad praises of the brave?
Peace, for such task is none of thine. By me he fell, by me he died, and now his burial rites be mine. Yet from these halls no mourner's train shall celebrate his obsequies. Only by a Charon's rolling tide his child shall spring unto his side, and in a daughter's loving wise shall clasp and kiss him once again.
Lo, sin by sin, and sorrow dogged by sorrow, and who the end can know? The slayer of today shall die tomorrow. The wage of wrong is woe, while time shall be, while Zeus in heaven is Lord. His law is fixed and stern. On him that wrought shall vengeance be outpoured. The tides of doom return. The children of the curse abide within these halls of high estate, and none can wrench from off the home of sin the clinging grasp of fate.
Now walks thy word aright, to tell this ancient truth of oracle. But I, with vows of sooth, will pray to him, the power that holdeth sway o'er all the race of Pleisthenes, Though dark the deed and deep the guilt, with this last blood my hands have spilt, I pray thee let thine anger cease. I pray thee pass from us away to some new race in other lands. There, if then wilt to wrong and slay the lives of men by kindred hands. For me, 'tis all sufficient meed. Though little wealth or power were won, so I can say, 'tis past and done. The bloody lust and murderous, the inborn frenzy of our house, is ended by my deed.
Aegisthus enters.
Dawn of the day of rightful vengeance, hail! I dare at length aver that gods above have care of men, and heed of earthly wrongs. I who stand and thus exult to see this man lie wound in robes the Furies wove, slain in requital of his father's craft. Take ye the truth, that Atreus, this man's sire, the lord and monarch of this land of old, held with my sire Thyestes deep dispute, brother with brother, for the prize of sway, and drave him from his home to banishment. Thereafter the lorn exile homeward stole, and clung a suppliant to the hearth divine, and for himself won this immunity, not with his own blood to defile the land that gave him birth. But Atreus, godless sire of him who here lies dead, this welcome planned. With zeal that was not love, he feigned to hold in loyal joy a day of festal cheer, and bade my father to his board, and set before him flesh that was his children once. First, sitting at the upper board alone, he hid the fingers and the feet, but gave the rest. And readily Thyestes took what to his ignorance no semblance wore of human flesh, and ate. Behold what curse that eating brought upon our race and name. For when he knew what all unhallowed thing he thus had wrought, with horror's bitter cry back-starting, spewing forth the fragments foul, on Pelops' house a deadly curse he spake. As darkly as I spurn this damned food, so perish all the race of Pleisthenes. Thus by that curse fell he whom here ye see, and I, who else, this murder wove and planned. For me, an infant yet in swaddling bands, of the 3 children youngest, Atreus sent to banishment by my sad father's side. But justice brought me home once more, grown now to manhood's years, and stronger though I was, my right hand reached into the chieftain's life, plotting and planning all that malice bade, and death itself were honor to me now, beholding him in justice ambushed ta'en.
Aegisthus, for this insolence of thine, that vaunts itself in evil, take my scorn. Of thine own will thou sayest thou hast slain the chieftain, by thine own unaided plot devised the piteous death. I read thee well. Think not thy head shall scape, when right prevails, the people's ban, the stones of death and doom.
This word from thee, this word from one who rose low at the oars beneath, what time we rule, we of the upper tier. Thou'lt know, anon, 'tis bitter to be taught again in age by one so young, submission at the word. But iron of the chain and hunger's throes can minister unto an o'erswollen pride marvellous well. Ay, even in the old. Hast eyes, and seest not this? Peace! Kick not thus against the pricks. Unto thy proper pain.
Thou womanish man, waiting till war did cease, home watcher and defiler of the couch, and arch deviser of the chieftain's doom.
Bold words again, but they shall end in tears. The very converse thine of Orpheus' tongue. He roused and led in ecstasy of joy all things that heard his voice melodious. But thou, as with the futile cry of curs wilt draw men wrathfully upon thee. Peace, or strong subjection soon shall tame thy tongue.
Aye, thou art one to hold an Argive down, thou'rt skilled to plan the murder of the king, but not with thine own hand to smite the blow.
That fraudful force was woman's very part, not mine, whom deep suspicion from of old would have debarred. Now by his treasure's aid my purpose holds to rule the citizens. But whoso will not bear my guiding hand, him for his corn-fed metal I will drive, not as a trace-horse light caparisoned, but to the shafts with heaviest harness bound. Famine, the grim mate of the dungeon dark, shall look on him and shall behold him tame.
Thou losel soul, was then thy strength too slight to deal in murder, while a woman's hand, staining and shaming Argus and its gods, availed to slay him? Oh, if anywhere the light of life smite on Orestes' eyes, let him, returning by some guardian fate, hew down with force her paramour and her.
How thy word and act shall issue thou shalt shortly understand.
Up to action, O my comrades, for the fight is hard at hand. Swift, your right hands to the sword hilt, bear the weapon as for strife.
Lo, I too am standing ready, hand on hilt for death or life.
'Twas thy word, and we accept it, onward to the chance of war.
Nay, enough, enough, my champion. We will smite and slay no more. Already we have reaped enough the harvest field of guilt, enough of wrong and murder. Let no other blood be spilt. Peace, old men, and pass away unto the homes by fate decreed, lest ill valor meet our vengeance. 'Twas a necessary deed, but enough of toils and troubles. Be the end, if ever, now, ere thy talon, O avenger, deal another deadly blow. 'Tis a woman's word of warning, and let who will list thereto.
But that these should loose and lavish reckless blossoms of the tongue, and in hazard of their fortune cast upon me words of wrong, and forget the law of subjects, and revile their ruler's word.
Ruler? But 'tis not for Argives thus to own a dastard lord.
I will follow to chastise thee in my coming days of sway.
Not if fortune guide Orestes safely on his homeward way.
Ah, well I know how exiles feed on hopes of their return.
Fare and batten on pollution of the right, while 'tis thy turn.
Thou shalt pay, be well assured, heavy quittance for thy pride.
Crow and strut, with her to watch thee, like a cock his mate beside.
Heed not thou too highly of them. Let the cur-pack growl and yell. I and thou will rule the palace, and will order all things well.
All exit. End of Agamemnon.
End of Section 2. Section 3.
The Libation-Bearers.
Part 1.
The scene is the tomb of Agamemnon at Mycenae. Afterwards, the palace of Atreus, hard by the tomb.
Lord of the Shades, and patron of the realm that erst my father swayed, list now my prayer, Hermes, and save me with thine aiding arm. Me, who from banishment returning stand on this my country. Lo, my foot is set on this grave mound, and herald-like, as thou, once and again, I bid my father hear. And these twin locks from mine head shorn I bring, and once Inachus, the river god, my young life's nurturer, I dedicate. And one, in sign of mourning unfulfilled, I lay, though late, on this my father's grave. For, O my father, not beside thy corse stood I to wail thy death, nor was my hand stretched out to bear thee forth to burial. What sight is yonder? What this women throng hitherward coming, by their sable garb made manifest as mourners? What hath chanced? Does some new sorrow hap within the home? Or rightly may I deem that they draw near bearing libations, such as soothe the ire of dead men angered, to my father's grave? Nay, such they are indeed, for I descry Electra mine own sister pacing hither, in moody grief conspicuous. Grant, O Zeus, grant me my father's murder to avenge! Be thou my willing champion! Pylades, pass we aside, till rightly I discern wherefore these women throng in suppliance.
Pylades and Orestes exit. Enter the chorus bearing vessels for libation. Electra follows them. They pace slowly towards the tomb of Agamemnon.
Forth from the royal halls by high command, I bear libations for the dead. Rings on my smitten breast my smiting hand, and all my cheek is rent and red, fresh furrowed by my nails, and all my soul this many a day doth feed on cries of dole, and trailing tatters of my vest, in looped and windowed raggedness forlorn, having rent around my breast, even as I, by blows of fate most stern, saddened and torn. Oracular through visions, ghastly clear, bearing a blast of wrath from realms below, and, stiffening each rising hair with dread, came out of dreamland fear, and, loud and awful, bade the shriek ring out at midnight's witching hour, and brooded, stern with woe, above the inner house, the woman's bower. And seers, inspired, did read the dream on oath, chanting aloud, in realms below the dead are wroth against their slayers, yet their ire doth glow. Therefore, to bear this gift of graceless worth, O earth, my nursing mother, the woman, God accursed, doth send me forth, lest one crime bring another. Ill is the very word to speak, for none can ransom or atone for blood once shed and darkening the plain. O hearth of woe and bane, O state that low doth lie, sunless, accursed of men, the shadows brood above the home of murdered majesty. Rumor of might, unquestioned, unsubdued, pervading ears and soul of lesser men, is silent now and dead. Yet rolls a viler dread, for bliss and power, however won, as gods, and more than gods, dazzle our mortal ken. Justice doth mark, with scales that swiftly sway, some that are yet in light, others in interspace of day and night, till fate arouse them, stay. And some are lapped in night, where all things are undone. On the life-giving lap of earth, blood hath flowed forth, and now the seed of vengeance clots the plain, unmelting, uneffaced the stain. And Ate tarries long, but at the last the sinner's heart is cast into pervading, waxing pangs of pain. Lo, when man's force doth ope the virgin doors, there is nor cure nor hope for what is lost. Even so, I deem, though in one channel ran earth's every stream, laving the land defiled from murder's stain, it were vain. And upon me, ah me, the gods have laid the woe that wrapped round Troy, what time they led down from home and kin unto a slave's employ, the doom to bow the head and watch our master's will, work deeds of good and ill, to see the headlong sway of force and sin, and hold restrained the spirit's bitter hate, wailing the monarch's fruitless fate, hiding my face within my robe, and fain of tears, and chilled with frost of hidden pain.
Handmaidens, orders of the palace halls, since at my side ye come, a suppliant train, companions of this offering, counsel me as best befits the time. For I, who pour upon the grave these streams funeral, with what fair word can I evoke my sire? Shall I aver, behold, I bear these gifts from well-beloved wife unto her well-beloved lord, when 'tis from her, my mother, that they come? I dare not say it. Of all words I fail wherewith to consecrate unto my sire these sacrificial honours on his grave. Or shall I speak this word, as mortals use? Give back to those who send these coronal full recompense of ills for acts malign? Or shall I pour this draught for earth to drink, sans word or reverence, as my sire was slain, and homeward pass with unreverted eyes, casting the bowl away, as one who flings the household cleansings to the common road? Be art in part, O friends, in this my doubt, even as ye are in that one common hate whereby we live attended. Fear ye not the wrath of any man, nor hide your word within your breast. The day of death and doom awaits alike the freeman and the slave. Speak then if aught thou knowest to aid us more.
Thou biddest, I will speak my soul's thoughts out, revering as a shrine thy father's grave.
Say then thy say, as thou his tomb reverest.
Speak solemn words to them that love, and poor.
And of his kin whom dare I name as kind?
Thyself, and next whoever Aegisthus scorns.
Then 'tis myself and thou my prayer must name.
Whoever they be, 'tis thine to know and name them.
Is there no other we may claim as ours?
Think of Orestes, though far off he be.
Right well in this too hast thou schooled my thought.
Mindfully, next, on those who shed the blood.
Pray on them what? Expound, instruct my doubt.
This, upon them some god or mortal come.
As judge or as avenger, speak thy thought.
Pray in set terms. Who shall the slayer slay?
Beseemeth it to ask such boon of heaven?
How not? To wreak a wrong upon the foe?
O mighty Hermes, warder of the shades, herald of upper and under world, proclaim and usher down my prayer's appeal unto the gods below, that they with eyes watchful behold these halls, my sires of old, and unto earth, the mother of all things, and foster nurse, and womb that takes their seed. Lo, I that pour these draughts for men now dead, call on my father, who yet holds in ruth me and mine own Orestes. Father, speak! How shall thy children rule thine halls again? Homeless we are and sold, and she who sold is she who bore us, and the price she took is he who joined with her to work thy death. Aegisthus, her new lord, behold me here brought down to slave's estate, and far away wanders Orestes, banished from the wealth that once was thine, the profit of thy care, whereon these revel in a shameful joy. Father, my prayer is said, 'tis thine to hear. Grant that some fair fate bring Orestes home, and unto me grant these, a purer soul than is my mother's, a more stainless hand. These be my prayers for us. For thee, O sire, I cry that one may come to smite thy foes, and that the slayers may in turn be slain. Cursed is their prayer, and thus I bar its path, praying mine own a counter-curse on them. And thou, send up to us the righteous boon for which we pray. Thine aids be heaven and earth, and justice guide the right to victory.
Electra addresses the chorus.
Thus I have prayed, and thus I shed these streams, and follow ye the wont, and as with flowers crown ye with many a tear, and cry the dirge, your lips ring out above the dead man's grave.
She pours the libations.
Woe, woe, woe! Let the teardrop fall, plashing on the ground, where our Lord lies low, fall and cleanse away the cursed libation stain, shed on this grave mound, fenced wherein together gifts of good or bane from the dead are found. Lord of Argos, hearken! Though around thee darken mist of death and hell, arise and hear. Hearken and awaken to our cry of woe. Who, with might of spear, shall our home deliver? Who, like Ares, bend until it quiver, bend the northern bow? Who, with hand upon the hilt, himself will thrust with glaive, thrust and slay and save?
Lo! The earth drinks them, to my sire they pass. Learn ye with me of this thing new and strange.
Speak thou, my breast doth palpitate with fear.
I see upon the tomb a curl new shorn.
Shorn, from what man, or what deep-girded maid?
That may he guess who will, the sign is plain.
Let me learn this of thee. Let youth prompt age.
None is there here but I to clip such gift.
For they who thus should mourn him hate him sore.
And lo, in truth, the hair exceedingly like
to what locks, and whose? Instruct me that.
Like unto those my father's children wear.
Then is this lock Orestes' secret gift?
Most like it is unto the curls he wore.
Yet how dared he to come unto his home?
He hath but sent it, clipped to mourn his sire.
It is a sorrow grievous as his death, that he should live, yet never dare return.
Yea, and my heart overflows with gall of grief, and I am pierced as with a cleaving dart. Like to the first drops after drought, my tears fall down at will, a bitter bursting tide. As on this lock I gaze, I cannot deem that any Argive save Orestes' self was ever lord thereof, nor well I wot hath she, the murderess, shorn and laid this lock to mourn him whom she slew. My mother she, bearing no mother's heart but to her race, a loathing spirit, loathed itself of heaven. Yet to affirm as utterly made sure that this adornment cometh of the hand of mine Orestes, brother of my soul, I may not venture, yet hope flatters fair. Ah, well a day that this dumb hair had voice to glad mine ears, as might a messenger, bidding me sway no more twixt fear and hope, clearly commanding, cast me hence away, clipped was I from some head thou lovest not, or I am kin to thee, and here as thou, I come to weep and deck our father's grave. Aid me, ye gods, for well indeed ye know how in the gale and countergale of doubt, like to the seaman's bark, we whirl and stray. But if God will our life, how strong shall spring, from seed how small, the new tree of our home? Lo ye, a second sign. These footsteps look like to my own, a corresponsive print. And look, another footmark. This his own, and that the foot of one who walked with him. Mark how the heel and tendon's print combined, measured exact with mine, coincident. Alas, for doubt and anguish rack my mind.
Orestes approaches suddenly.
Pray thou, in gratitude for prayers fulfilled, fair fall the rest of what I ask of heaven.
Wherefore, what win I from the gods by prayer?
This, that thine eyes behold thy heart's desire.
On whom of mortals knowest thou that I call?
I know thy yearning for Orestes deep.
Say then, where an event hath crowned my prayer?
I am he, seek not one more akin.
Some fraud, O stranger, weavest thou for me?
Against myself I weave it, if I weave.
Ah, thou hast mind to mock me in my woe.
'Tis at mine own I mock then, mocking thine.
Speak I with thee then as Orestes' self?
My very face thou seest and knowest me not. And yet but now, when thou didst see the lock shorn from my father's grave, and when thy quest was eager on the footprints I had made, even I, thy brother, shaped and sized as thou, fluttered thy spirit as at sight of me. Lay now this ringlet whence 'twas shorn, and judge, and look upon this robe, thine own hand's work, the shuttle prints, the creature wrought thereon. Refrain thyself, nor prudence lose in joy. For well I wot our kin are less than kind.
Oh, Thou that art unto our father's home, love, grief, and hope, for thee the tears ran down, for thee the son, the saviour that should be, trust thou thine arm, and win thy father's halls. O aspect sweet of fourfold love to me, whom upon thee the heart's constraint bids call, as on my father, and the claim of love from me unto my mother turns to thee, for she is very hate. To thee too turns, what of my heart went out to her who died a ruthless death upon the altar stone. And for myself I love thee, thee that wast a brother leal, sole stay of love to me. Now by thy side be strength and right, and Zeus Saviour Almighty stand to aid the twain.
Zeus! Zeus! Look down on our estate, and us, the orphan brood of him our eagle sire, whom to his death a fearful serpent brought enwinding him in coils. And we, bereft and foodless, sink with famine, all too weak to bear unto the eyrie, as he bore, such quarry as he slew. Lo, I and she, Electra, stand before thee, fatherless, and each alike cast out and homeless made.
And if thou leave to death the brood of him, whose altar blazed for thee, whose reverence was thine, all thine, whence in the after years shall any hand like his adorn thy shrine with sacrifice of flesh? The eaglet slain, thou wouldest have a messenger to bear thine omens once so clear to mortal men. So if this kingly stock be withered all, none on high festivals will fend thy shrine. Stoop thou to raise us, strong the race shall show, thou puny now it seems, and fallen low.
O children, saviours of your father's home, beware ye of your words, lest one should hear and bear them. For the tongue hath lust to tell unto our masters, whom God grant to me in pitchy reeks of funeral flame to see.
Nay, mighty is Apollo's oracle, and shall not fail me, whom it bade to pass through all this peril. Clear the voice rang out with many warnings, sternly threatening to my hot heart the wintry chill of pain, unless upon the slayers of my sire I pressed for vengeance. This is the god's command, that I, in ire for home and wealth despoiled, should with a craft like theirs the slayers slay, else with my very life I should atone this deed undone, in many a ghastly wise, for he proclaimed unto the ears of men that offerings poured to angry power of death exude again, unless their will be done, as grim disease on those that poured them forth, as leprous ulcers mounting on the flesh, and with fell fangs corroding what of old wore natural form, and on the brow arise white poisoned hairs, the crown of this disease. He spake moreover of assailing fiends, empowered to quit on me my father's blood, wreaking their wrath on me, what time and night beneath shut lids the spirit's eye sees clear. The dart that flies in darkness, sped from hell by spirits of the murdered dead, who call unto their kin for vengeance. Formless fear, the night tide's visitant, and madness's curse, should drive and rack me. And my tortured frame should be chased forth from man's community, as with the brazen scorpions of the scourge. For me and such as me no lustral bowl should stand, no spilth of wine be poured to God for me, and wrath unseen of my dead sire should drive me from the shrine. No man should dare to take me to his hearth, nor dwell with me. Slow, friendless, cursed of all should be mine end, and pitiless horror wind me for the grave. This spake the god, this dare I disobey? Yea, though I dared, the deed must yet be done, for to that end diverse desires combine, the god's behest, deep grief for him who died, and last, the grievous blank of wealth despoiled. All these weigh on me, urge that Argive men, minions of valor, who with soul of fire did make of fenced Troy a ruinous heap, be not left slaves to two and each a woman, for he, the man, wears woman's heart. If not, soon shall he know, confronted by a man.
Orestes, Electra, and the chorus gather round the tomb of Agamemnon for the invocation which follows.
Mighty fates, on you we call. Bid the will of Zeus ordain power to those to whom again justice turns with hand and aid. Grievous was the prayer one made, grievous let the answer fall. Where the mighty doom is set, Justice claims aloud her debt. Who in blood hath dipped the steel, deep in blood her meed shall feel. List an immemorial word, whosoever shall take the sword shall perish by the sword.
Father, unblessed in death, O Father mine, what breath of word or deed can I waft on thee from this far confine unto thy lowly bed? Waft upon thee, in midst of darkness lying, hope's countergleam of fire? Yet the loud dirge of praise brings grace undying unto each parted sire.
O child, the spirit of the dead, although upon his flesh have fed the grim teeth of the flame, is quelled not. After many days, the sting of wrath his soul shall raise, a vengeance to reclaim. To the dead rings loud our cry, plain the living's treachery, swelling, shrilling, urged on high. The vengeful dirge for parents shall strive and shall attain.
Hear me too, even me, O Father, hear! Not by one child alone these groans, these tears are shed upon thy sepulchre. Each where thou art lowly laid, stands a suppliant homeless maid. Ah, and all is full of ill, comfort is there none to say? Strive and wrestle as we may, still stands doom invincible.
Nay, if so he will, the God, still our tears to joy can turn. He can bid a triumph ode, drown the dirge beside this urn. He to kingly halls can greet the child restored, the homeward guided feet.
Ah, my father, hadst thou lain under Ilion's wall, by some Lycian spearman slain, thou hadst left in this thine hall honour. Thou hadst brought for us fame and life most glorious. Overseas if thou hadst died, heavily had stood thy tomb, heaped on high. But, quenched in pride, grief were light unto thy home.
Loved and honoured hast thou lain by the dead that nobly fell, in the underworld again, where are throned the kings of hell. Full of sway adorable, thou hast stood at their right hand, thou that wert in mortal land by fate's ordinance and law, King of kings, who bear the crown and the staff, to which in awe mortal men bow down.
Nay, O Father, I were fain other fate had fallen on thee. Ill it were if thou hadst slain one among the common slain, fallen by Scamander's side. Those who slew thee there should be, then untouched by slavery. We had heard as from afar deaths of those who would have died mid the chance of war.
O child, forbear. Things all too high thou sayest, easy but vain thy cry. A boon above all gold is that thou prayest, an unreached destiny, as of the blessed land that far aloof beyond the north wind lies. Ye doth your double prayer ring loud reproof, a double scourge of sighs awakes the dead, the avengers rise, though late. Blood stains the guilty pride of the accursed who roll on earth, and fate stands on the children's side.
That hath sped through mine ears like a shaft from a bow. Zeus, Zeus, it is thou who dost send from below a doom on the desperate doer. Ere long, on a mother, a father shall visit his wrong.
Be it mine to upraise through the reek of the pyre the chant of the light, while the funeral fire devoureth the corpse of a man that is slain, and the woman laid low. For who bids me conceal it outrending control, blows ever stern blast of hate through my soul, and before me a vision of wrath and of bane flits and waves to and fro.
Zeus, thou alone to us art parent now. Smite with a rending blow upon their heads, and bid the land be well. Set right where wrong hath stood, and thou give ear, O earth, unto my prayer. Yea, hear, O Mother Earth, and monarchy of hell.
Nay, the law is sternly set. Blood drops shed upon the ground plead for other bloodshed yet. Loud the call of death doth sound, calling guilt of olden time, a fury crowning crime with crime.
Where are ye, avenging powers, puissant furies of the slain? Behold the relics of the race of Atreus, thrust from pride of place. O Zeus, what home henceforth is ours, what refuge to attain?
Lo, at your wail my heart throbs, wildly stirred. Now I am lorn with sadness, darkened in all my soul, to hear your sorrow's word. Anon to hope, the seat of strength, I rise. She, thrusting grief away, lifts up mine eyes to the new dawn of gladness.
Skills it to tell of aught save wrong on wrong, wrought by our mother's deed? Though now she fawn for pardon, sternly strong standeth our wrath, and will nor hear nor heed. Her children's soul is wolfish, born from hers, and softens not by prayers.
I dealt upon my breast the blow that Asian mourning women know. Wails from my breast the funeral cry, the Scythian weeping melody, stretched rendingly forth to tatter and tear. My clenched hands wander here and there, from head to breast, distraught with blows, throb dizzily my brows.
Aweless in hate, O mother sternly brave, as in a foeman's grave thou laidest in earth a king, but to the bier no citizen drew near. Thy husband, thine, yet for his obsequies thou badest no wail. Arise!
Alas, the shameful burial thou dost speak. Yet I the vengeance of his shame will wreak. That do the gods command, that shall achieve mine hand. Grant me to thrust her life away, and I will dare to die.
List thou the deed, hewn down and foully torn, he to the tomb was borne. Ye, by her hand, the deed who wrought, with like dishonour to the grave was brought. And by her hand she strove, with strong desire, thy life to crush, O child, by murder of thy sire. Bethink thee, hearing of the shame, the pain, wherewith that sire was slain.
Yea, such was the doom of my sire. Well a day I was thrust from his side. As a dog from the chamber they thrust me away, and in place of my laughter rose sobbing in tears, as in darkness I lay. O Father, if this word can pass to thine ears, to thy soul let it reach and abide.
Let it pass, let it pierce, through the sense of thine ear, to thy soul, where in silence it waiteth the hour. The past is accomplished, but rouse thee to hear what the future prepareth. Awake and appear, our champion, in wrath and in power.
O Father, to thy loved ones come in aid.
With tears I call on thee.
Listen and rise to light. Be thou with us, be thou against the foe. Swiftly this cry arises, even so, pray we the loyal band, as we have prayed.
Let their might meet with mine, and their right with my right.
O ye gods, it is yours to decree.
Ye call unto the dead, I quake to hear. Fate is ordained of old, and shall fulfill your prayer.
Alas, the inborn curse that haunts our home, of Aetes' blood-stained scour, the tuneless sound. Alas, the deep insufferable doom, that stanchless wound.
It shall be stanched. The task is ours. Not by a stranger's, but by kindred hand, shall be chased forth the blood-fiend of our land. Be this our spoken spell, to call earth's nether powers.
Lords of a dark eternity, to you has come the children's cry. Send up from hell, fulfill your aid to them who prayed.
O Father, murdered in unkingly wise, fulfill my prayer, grant me thine halls to sway.
To me too, grant this boon, dark death to deal unto Aegisthus, and to 'scape my doom.
So shall the rightful feasts that mortals pay be set for thee. Else, not for thee shall rise the scented reek of altars fed with flesh, but thou shalt lie dishonoured. Hear thou me.
I too, from my full heritage restored, will pour the lustral streams, what time I pass forth as a bride from these paternal halls, and honour first beyond all graves thy tomb.
Earth, send my sire to fend me in the fight.
Give fair-faced fortune, O Persephone.
Bethink thee, Father, in the laver slain.
Bethink thee of the net they handselled for thee.
Bonds not of brass ensnared thee, Father mine.
Yea, the ill craft of an unfolding robe.
By this our bitter speech arise, O sire.
Raise thou thine head at love's last, dearest call.
Yea, speed forth right to aid thy kinsman's cause. Grip for grip let them grasp the foe, if thou willest in triumph to forget thy fall.
Hear me, O Father, once again hear me. Lo, at thy tomb 2 fledglings of thy brood, a man-child and a maid, hold them in ruth, nor wipe them out, the last of Pelops' line, for while they live, thou livest from the dead. Children are memory's voices, and preserve the dead from wholly dying, as a net is ever by the buoyant corks upheld, which save the flex mesh in the depths submerged. Listen, this wail of ours doth rise for thee, and as thou heedest it, thyself art saved.
In sooth, a blameless prayer ye spake at length, the tomb's requital for its dirge denied. Now, for the rest, as thou art fixed to do, take fortune by the hand, and work thy will.
The doom is set, and yet I fain would ask, not swerving from the course of my resolve, wherefore she sends these offerings, and why she softens all too late her cureless deed. An idle boon it was, to send them here unto the dead who recks not such gifts. I cannot guess her thought, but well I ween such gifts are skilless to atone such crime. Be blood once spilled, and idle strife he strives who seeks with other wealth or wine outpoured to atone the deed. So stands the word, nor fails. Yet would I know her thought. Speak, if thou knowest.
I know it, son, for at her side I stood. 'Twas the night-wandering terror of a dream that flung her shivering from her couch, and bade her, the accursed of God, these offerings send.
Heard ye the dream, to tell it forth aright?
Yea, from herself. Her womb a serpent bare.
What then the sum and issue of the tale?
Even as a swaddled child, she lulled the thing.
What? Suckling craved the creature, born full-fanged?
Yet in her dreams she profited the breast.
How? Did the hateful thing not bite her teeth?
Yea, and sucked forth a blood-gout in the milk.
Not vain this dream. It bodes a man's revenge.
Then, out of sleep, she started with a cry, and through the palace, for their mistress' aid, full many lamps that erst lay blind with night, flared into light. Then, even as mourners use, she sends these offerings in hope to win a cure to cleave and sunder sin from doom.
Earth and my father's grave, to you I call. Give this her dream fulfillment, and through me. I read it in each part coincident with what shall be. For mark, that serpent sprang from the same womb as I, in swaddling bands by the same hands was swathed, lipped the same breast, and sucking forth the same sweet mother's milk infused a clot of blood. And in alarm she cried upon her wound the cry of pain. The rede is clear, the thing of dread she nursed, the death of blood she dies, and I, 'tis I, in semblance of a serpent, that must slay her. Thou art my seer, and thus I read the dream.
So do, yet ere thou doest, speak to us, citing some act, some, by not acting, aid.
Brief my command. I bid my sister pass in silence to the house, and all I bid, this my design with wariness conceal, that they who did by craft a chieftain slay, may by like craft and in like noose be ta'en, dying the death which Loxias foretold, Apollo, king and prophet undisproved. I with this warrior Pylades will come in likeness of a stranger, full equipped as travellers come, and at the palace gates will stand, as stranger yet in friendship's bond unto this house allied. And each of us will speak the tongue that round Parnassus sounds, feigning such speech as Phocian voices use. And what if none of those that tend the gates shall welcome us with gladness, since the house with ills divine is haunted? If this hap, we at the gate will bide, till, passing by, some townsman make conjecture and proclaim, How, is Aegisthus there, and knowingly keep suppliants aloof by bolt and bar? Then shall I win my way, and if I cross the threshold of the gate, the palace guard, and find him throned once where my father sat, or if he come anon, and face to face confronting drop his eye from mine, I swear he shall not utter, Who art thou, and whence? Ere my steel leap, and compassed round with death low he shall lie. And thus, full fed with doom, the fury of the house shall drain once more a deep third draught of rich unmingled blood. But thou, O sister, look that all within be well prepared to give these things event. And ye, I say 'twere well to bear a tongue full of fair silence, and of fitting speech as each beseems the time. And last, do thou, Hermes the warder god, keep watch and ward, and guide to victory my striving sword.
Orestes exits with Pylades.
End of section 3.